his face finna get smashed in. He know his body's finna be on the pavement. It may have
Only
a
in
reaction.
dreams.
You don't
Only
know
in
what type of
dreams.
reaction it's gonna be. So hey, let him burn off this energy. It's entertaining. Because when he get in the ring, it's gonna be a different thing. His demeanor about himself is gonna change. His mannerism gonna change. He's so nervous right now. He don't know what to do with it himself.
I look so nervous.
He might
don't I?
have a pamper on right now.
Damn.
All right, guys, we just heard it. That was Wilder Fury press conference. So this is Against the Ropes, guys, episode 3. With you calling the action, Christian Mosqueda, Gio Garcia, and Chris Rodriguez. Guys, give me guys' thoughts. What do you guys think about the press conferences?
Yeah, let's get to it.
It's a big spectacle.
So my question is, Chris, does the whole circus, does it make you want to see the fight more, less, or just about the same?
Both of them need to, because they were actually an ESPN First Take with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman over the week. So they really had to promote themselves to promote this pay-per-view because, one, it's in pay-per-view, and people, how much people are going to be willing to pay pay-per-view if it's not Manny Pacquiao, if it's not Mayweather, if it's not even, I have to bring it up, McGregor, right? Or like it's just somebody that we're not used to seeing in pay-per-view. So yeah, they have to really like go out of their way, but at the same time, that's how they behave in general.
Gio, same question.
Yeah, these press conferences make me want to watch the fight even more. Because before, I'll be honest, I didn't really pay attention too much to Tyson Fury, and I didn't really like Wilder that much. So I was kind of like whatever about this fight. But watching this, it's fun. I hope the fight can live up to the hype, you know.
So there's a lot of talk about people say that they see the respect and they think they're just really just acting. Do you feel like that there's a switch that they turn on, where they do, there are fighters they can turn on that switch?
There was a huge mutual respect on the ESPN First Take. If you watch it, like they both have this respect, but I think the respect comes down to because they both hate Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, that was interesting because I saw the press conference in LA, right? And the Showtime guy he asked both of them, but he asked Wilder first, do you like Tyson Fury, or, is the dislike real? And he said, yeah, I like Tyson Fury. He's a charismatic guy. He's good for heavyweight boxing. He even complimented his shoes. So I was surprised because, Wilder, he talks a lot of shit.
Yeah.
He always tries to be the tough guy, but he showed a lot of respect toward Tyson. And when they asked Tyson the same question, he said, nah, I don't like Wilder. I love him. So, you could tell the respect is there. I was surprised, though. I would like it if they dislike each other a little bit more.
Yeah. For me, like,
they're being soft, both of them.
Yeah. To me, I can tell that there is respect, but at the same time, you can tell like once December 1st comes, they are gonna fight, and they both want this win more than anything, just because of what it will mean for their careers.
Yeah, and that's why I was surprised that the LA conference ended in a quote unquote brawl.
Yeah.
A lot of tussling back and forth, and the camps getting involved, because the whole press conference, they were, obviously the trash talk is there.
Yeah.
But they were giving each other a lot of compliments. So I was surprised to see that they ended up that press conference pushing each other.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who do you think won these mind games?
I think Tyson did.
Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why, and I have some quotes from Tyson. Chris, go first. Go ahead, dude.
No, go.
All right, so Tyson, before I thought Wilder was going to be able to use because against every opponent, he uses his length, his size, his power, and I thought maybe against Fury, he would be able to do that. But Fury's a big dude, man.
He's a big guy. Yeah.
He's a big dude.
He's 6'9".
I didn't know he was that tall.
Yeah.
He's 6'9", and Wilder is 6'7", right? So, but Fury was calling him a skinny dude. He was calling Wilder a skinny dude, right? I think Wilder said he was going to knock Fury out. And then Fury was like, look at him. He doesn't even have the body structure to hurt me. And he just kept calling him scrawny and skinny.
Yeah.
I think that was interesting. And I think that's why Fury, like, he was really confronting him, like, throughout the press conferences. He was getting in his face to let him know, like, dude,
like
I'm the bigger guy. I'm bigger than you. I'm heavier than you. I'm taller than you.
Maybe.
I'm better at shit talking than you. And I think that gets to Wilder, man.
Yeah. because he's probably not used to it. He's not used to having somebody, you know, that vocal. You know, nobody really has that confidence when they go up against Wilder, and you know, let alone somebody that really, you know, believes it.
Yeah.
I like how he was like bobbing and moving. He's like also showing him like, hey, I'm quick too. You know, so yeah. What do you think, Chris?
It all worked out for him when he was going into those press conferences against Klitschko. Like, clearly, like, he got into Klitschko's mind. One time he was wearing like a Batman suit at the press conference. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just pure silly. And Klitschko wasn't having it, but he got into his skin. And you saw what happened when he was in, I think, Germany. That's where he beat him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though the fight was boring, clinching and all that, but Fury came out winning. But I think it's because he was doing his homework before outside the ring. So,
Yeah. And I think that's interesting too, because it's a different kind of shit talking that Wilder's probably not used to. You know, it's a British dude. He's kind of silly, kind of goofy, you know, and he'll say just random ass shit. And I don't think Wilder is used to that.
yeah, it's funny because, like, if usually when you watch Mayweather, he does all the promoting.
Yeah.
Like, when he's on pay-per-view, he does all the promoting. And the other fighters, just like, let's say, like Maidana or Manny Pacquiao, they don't do the promoting. All they do is just, like, stay quiet, follow their background history, how rough they had it back then, you know? And with Mayweather, when he fought against McGregor, like, for him, it was like, finally,
Yep.
I could take a step back,
Yeah.
let McGregor do all the work. This is more easy work.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I think it's more harder to promote yourself than for him to be in the ring.
Yeah, that's why.
That's more harder for him. So now he has McGregor doing all the promotion. So I'm pretty sure, like, hey, this is really good. So with this, it's good because you have both of them doing it back
Talking.
and forth. So it helps.
Yeah, even Wilder said he finally has a dance partner. So this it's gonna lead to my next question. Who do you think has the more pressure to win, in your opinion?
Deontay Wilder.
Is it because he's fighting in the States or?
For so many reasons. The primary reason is because it's going to be on Showtime pay-per-view. And this is the first time that Showtime is going to have a pay-per-view post-Mayweather era. And every boxer wants to be like that next, not Mayweather, but they want to be
The
that
next
pay-per-view,
pay-per-view
right?
star.
Like either Miguel Cotto, Manny Pacquiao, Oscar De La Hoya. Like that's the biggest, forget the belts. It's always about being the megastar. And the only way you can become the megastar is not to be on mainstream TV, but to be in pay-per-view. That's the end game, you know? So Wilder has so much pressure because, honestly, Wilder, he's done it already. Like, he's been the number one heavyweight for a short period of time, right? Like, he had the belt for Klitschko. Like, he beat that guy. But for Wilder, like, this is, like, the start of a new, like, era. Like, this could be my era. Even though there's somebody in London, you know, claiming to be, like, number one heavyweight, but you're in pay-per-view now, and this is a way, especially like being in Los Angeles, there's going to be a lot of people going out, a lot of celebrities, and one person specifically, LeBron James, should be there. Right. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's there in attendance just to like support Deontay Wilder because of USA, you know? So maybe it is right and fitting to have Deontay Wilder come here and fight near Hollywood, you know, because they want to produce him as the biggest star in boxing, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And another reason we talk about the respect that these two men have is because of one mutual man that didn't step up. So Anthony Joshua. So what do you guys think happens? Do you think that the winner really does get Joshua, or
Yeah, it has to.
It has to.
There's no other option, right? But going back to your question, I think, yeah, Wilder has more pressure on him because there hasn't been a big heavyweight boxer from the USA in a long time, right? And he has opportunity to be that guy. So I think this is a big chance.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, who do you guys favor for this fight? Do you still think that Wilder has it, or do you?
No, after watching the press conferences, Tyson's gonna get him.
Oh, you think
Wow.
Tyson's gonna get him. And you guys know me; I don't really make predictions like that in big fights. But I think Tyson's gonna get him, man. But it all, like I said last week, it all depends on which Tyson shows up.
Right.
If he gets in shape, if he's in 100%, I think he'll take Wilder out.
I think Gio says it because Gio, I think you take into account a lot like, the importance of being mentally tough, and then the how, you know, when you get into another fighter's head, how that plays out.
Yeah,
So-
but also the size, man. I think Wilder's finally fighting a guy his size.
Hmm.
Let's see what his power can do against Tyson, and let's see him taking the shots, because he took some shots against Ortiz, but
Yeah.
Ortiz was still the much smaller guy.
Yeah, that's
in my
true.
opinion. Like, he looked much smaller when I was watching the fight, but Tyson, he's a big dude, man.
Yeah. Chris?
I still have Wilder.
Yeah. Knockout?
What's the new code saying? Any given punch?
Any given punch.
That's true. Yeah.
That he has a shotgun in his right hand, dude. Like anything goes with that hand.
Yeah.
Even though it's not technically sound, meaning it being called a windmill, right? Like,
Mhm.
but that. Keep in mind, he had surgery in his hand
Mhm.
a couple years ago, and I do have respect for Fury for one, getting in the ring,
Yeah.
and then two, I think he's gonna impress us though.
Yeah. No,
He's
definitely.
like, even like if he loses, he's still gonna be in the top contenders of
definitely.
fights. Like
Yeah.
still, it's like there's so
Because-
many fights for Fury to fight in the future.
Because I think he's that confident. Like, I don't think that if that O goes, I don't think
Nah.
he's just gonna fall back and stop talking to shit and stop being in the limelight.
And they could do the rematch in Wembley.
Wembley, yeah.
Yeah,
And that's the thing, dude. Like, I don't think Wilder has ever been like at this big stage like this, dude. Like,
ooh,
Fury had
That's
that
true.
with Klitschko.
Yeah, that's
That
true.
was like the biggest you could get at that point, right? The biggest stage, the biggest name in that division. We'll see if that gets to Wilder as well.
Yeah, I mean, you could also say that Wilder hasn't had, other than Ortiz, like the type of competition.
you know. And the thing is, like when they were gonna have the Triple G Canelo fight, the first one in May, they had a, you know how HBO has those sit downs,
Yeah.
face off. They actually had a face off, and Max Kellerman was talking about he was getting little snippets in ESPN First Take. He didn't want to blow it up and say it all of it, but he's talking about how he asked Triple G, like, when you were fighting Canelo the first time,
Yep.
like, were you intimidated, like, because the whole like
Spotlight.
being in the ring?
Mhm.
He's like, and supposedly from Max Kellerman said, yeah, I got to him.
And you could see it, dude. Like,
The nerves. Yeah.
you can see as soon as they step out of that backstage and they're facing all the public, dude. It's a different ball game, man.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine what it's like to just step out and there's 20,000 people yelling, probably talking shit to you, and like half the people talking shit to you and half the
Yeah.
people supporting you.
Yeah.
You know, and there's guys who are used to that. You know, the Canelos, the Manny Pacquiao's, but guys like Wilder, we talked about it, them not being superstars yet. I think that's part of it too. They've
Yeah.
never been on that stage.
Yeah, that's where all the pressure comes up
So
to
it
that
comes,
first
yeah.
question.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason why, Wembley would be such a big, it'd be very tough to go in Wembley and get a W, but yeah, with that.
Because, and we even talked about it last week with Joshua, right? That his interests seem like WrestleMania.
Yeah,
Like, every time he goes out,
it's intimidating.
Mhm.
it's like a big event, dude. And
It takes
even
them like 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
yeah.
To get up, yeah.
And it's a whole setup, dude. Fireworks, loud music.
And then they put them in a podium
yeah.
and
Got the big
and it
AJ.
elevates.
Yeah.
It's WrestleMania, dude, like you said. But even Joshua has been like on that stage. Like, every time he fights in England, it's like a huge deal, right, with his people. And Wilder, I don't know, man.
Yeah, so you think he's going to choke a little bit?
Shit, we'll see. I think the first couple rounds he's gonna be nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see Fury outboxing him for the first few rounds, and
I can see that
after
play.
that, who
Yeah, but
knows?
like you said, any given punch.
Obviously, like, these
What do
two
you got?
have been stunned a little bit, but like, has Fury ever been knocked down and gone up?
Yeah.
Other than
Yeah.
yeah, I forget his name.
Cunningham.
I don't
Cunningham,
remember.
there you
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
remember
but I don't
watching
think
that
I
fight.
think it was more of a flash knockdown. It wasn't really like a hurt.
No,
I'm hurt.
it
right?
was a knockdown, but it was a nice one.
Yeah, it was a good one. Reminds me of like the timber every time.
Yep.
Wilder.
It does. It does.
So with that, guys, let's move on. Chris.
Wait, what was your prediction for that fight?
Oh, my
Who do you have?
prediction?
You
I
still have
have-
Wilder.
I think I still have Wilder winning by knockout.
What do you think will be the difference maker though? Why are you guys saying Wilder?
Just that punch.
That's
I
it?
don't think Fury.
Because
can
I've seen
avoid
big.
it
I've seen big punchers being neutralized before.
That's true.
right?
That is
But
true.
heavyweight divisions, it's
But
a
heavyweight's
little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see Fury being up on the scorecards though, like way ahead. I think, and then because Ortiz was ahead.
Yeah.
At least on my scorecard.
Yeah, Ortiz was
winning.
ahead.
Mm-hmm.
He was outboxing Wilder. It looked like he just got kind of tired, man. And then the size difference made that was probably the determining factor in that fight.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised though if Fury did win points. I wouldn't be surprised. He's a big guy. He's very, mobile. So
I don't think that fight's gonna go to the scorecards. I don't think so. I think it just adds up to the idea of being a heavyweight. It's gotta end in a knockout. That's what we all expect in the heavyweight division. We saw it with Joshua with Povetkin recently. We saw it with what happened with Deontay Wilder versus Ortiz. It's gotta end in a knockout.
Yeah, if that fight goes to distance, Tyson's gonna win. Yeah,
I can see that happening.
I don't think, like I said, I don't think Wilder's ready for that big stage, and I don't think he's ready to go 12 rounds against a big guy like that.
There'll be some people that say that this fight is too soon for Fury, but
yeah, it might be.
So that's
what makes it so interesting.
That's true.
Because
I do feel like it's kind of early.
Because even during the press conference that I was watching, Showtime guy asked Tyson Fury, you're facing the champion. And then Tyson was like, wait a minute. I was a lineal champion before whatever shit happened, right?
Right.
And he's like, I'm the champion still. So in his mind, if he could go in there with that mentality, I think that's going to help him.
Yeah. Like you said, guys, I think either way, whatever happens, I think Fury comes out, without losing much, because he did go through a lot, mental health, drugs, alcohol. So
I think the American fans will like him.
Yeah.
I think LA will like him.
I think it will grow on people
Yeah.
to support him.
Yeah.
Especially when boxing is finally in mainstream TV.
Is it going to be an all access for the?
Yeah,
There
there's
should be.
actually 3 episodes starting in November.
Damn. Nice. That's going to be good for
I
the
gotta watch
fans.
that.
It's going to be good for the fans.
Yeah, that's good for Showtime.
Yeah.
They need that, especially since the depth of HBO.
So with that, we'll move on to our next topic, Chris. A little bit on the Ghost, Al Heyman.
Yeah, Al Heyman. Yeah, this man is probably the most interesting man in the world, especially in the world that we live in today. Like
I'm
if
stay
you're
out of this.
if you live in today's world and you're a big business person or you have some sort of company, you're always on the spotlight, always going to be criticized.
Yeah.
But this man has a zero tolerance of not being recorded with any footage. There's hardly any pictures of him at all, even in Google. Primarily, if you go to Google, this is probably the main picture you'll probably see. That's it.
Is that Malcolm X?
Not Malcolm X. But the thing with Al Heyman, a lot of people don't need to understand.
Let me see that. Let me see that, Chris.
See that picture? Let's put it up.
Yeah, so Al Heyman, he graduated from Harvard with a master's in business administration. And in the beginning, he was trying to do promotional concerts, stuff like that. But even before then, he already had history with boxing in general because his brother used to be a boxer. He was 21-8, and his brother ended up retiring after he lost to Sugar Ray Leonard. And Al Heyman started to get in the boxing scene business-wise in 2000. That's when he got registered as a manager for the state of Las Vegas. And that's when things got really interesting. And that's when he ended up buying out Floyd Mayweather from Top Rank. He took away Floyd Mayweather from Bob Arum. And ever since then, I'm pretty sure, he's mad. But part of the reason is because Top Rank also had Oscar De La Hoya. Yeah. And they were promoting more towards his side. And actually, you get the idea, right? Why Hispanics come more and they spend more money. Yeah. So that was that. And thankfully, at the end of the day, that was probably the smartest business move for Al Heyman. Yeah. Because it introduced a lot of fighters out there, be whoa, that could be me, just like how Floyd Mayweather was promoted, or managed, right? And a lot of people don't actually have an idea or opinion, how can you, what's my opinion Al Heyman? And it's hard because you don't see him in the spotlight. I remember somebody, he mentioned.
Does he talk?
There was one quote that he says that he doesn't want to be a star. He's a businessman.
Yeah. He doesn't want the credit.
He doesn't want the credit. Yeah. He says if the spotlight's on me, that means that that's less spotlight on the boxers. And if you look at like Dana White, like he's always on the spotlight, you know. And
He's
if
like
you,
the Vince McMahon of UFC.
It's like the P Diddy.
yeah,
You don't want 'em all up in your videos.
He doesn't.
yeah. But Al Heyman, though, I think to me is the reason why HBO had to call it a quits. Like literally, like if people want to find out, yes, because HBO was running out of money or budget, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of people have been calling out Al Heyman for like so many years, and they have the right to. And part of the reason is because a lot of people feel like some of Al Heyman's fighters were avoiding certain boxers. Or more importantly, there's a lot of mismatches in boxing. For instance, like the most famous one is Danny Garcia versus Ron Salka. Like a lot of people were furious with that, you know? But at the same time too, when you listen to fighters, like, hey, how's Al Heyman? Like they always say, they're always like protecting me. Like, you know, like Al Heyman does this and that. Like he doesn't want to be on the spotlight, and it's all good. It's all good. And so one thing that I find out about that was really interesting this past year is, so we recently had HBO Dead, right, coming up in October 27th. That's the last HBO streaming of Daniel Jacobs and Derevchenko. But understand this. So last year, Golden Boy ended up having a deal with ESPN to broadcast their fighters on ESPN, right?
Yeah.
And part of the reason why Golden Boy wanted that video footage for their boxers to be distributed on ESPN is because so they can help them out, be seen by the world, and then matriculate them into HBO in the future. Yeah, that was the end game for, all right? And that deal happened last year. And then this year you have the new app called The Zone or Danza, whatever you want to call it. And Eddie Hearn comes up with a 10-year deal from investors giving $1 billion. And some people speculate that that's not the number. Supposedly it's lower than that. Some people say it's probably like 300, 500 million, but it's hard when you have investors. Yeah. It's not public money. So that was the second deal, and that happened in May 2018. And then you have a third deal with Top Rank with ESPN this past August. And that was a 7-year deal leading up to 2025. All right. So we had 3 deals that happened the past like 1 year. One was Golden Boy with ESPN, Danza with their own stream service with the app. And then you had Top Rank, right? But the last 2 TV deals are the most important ones. And that was PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, with Showtime, which is a 3-year until 2021. And then the 5th one, again, PBC, and that's Fox with a 4-year deal. But this is the one that like really like catches everybody's eyes. So this one was 60 million per year. So he's basically getting in like 240 million. Now, when we had PBC on NBC for John Molina, Adrian Broder, Robert Guerrero, and Thurman, that was not NBC saying, hey, can you bring your fighters and we'll pay for everything? No, it was not like that. Al Heyman and their investors group, they paid like 20 million for that year to buy like time from NBC.
So now it's like the opposite.
It's
like
the opposite.
Now they're okay.
You know how usually that's why like English Premier League teams, like they always get these big budgets to buy players because the broadcasting rights always expands like every single year. That's why they like NFL players always and NBA players, they always go on strike every 5 or 6 years because like you always find out that
there's so much money.
There's so much money from like not just companies but also like ESPN, you know, trying to TNT, all those companies, right? But in boxing, you don't have that.
Yeah, Wild West.
You only have 2 ones, and that's HBO and Showtime. And I think when Al Heyman came into the play, mainstreaming boxing in that March 2015, to me, that was a huge deal.
That's a big deal.
Big deal. Because we were finally like, oh, is this the end game? Like okay, so we were going to have like mismatches fights, you know, and then finally put in the mainstream fight. But at the end of the day, this goes back to Floyd Mayweather. Like, you know how in life in general, people tell you like if you want to like make it in life or have career challenges, you got to like risk. Take a big risk for a big reward. That philosophy did not apply with Al Heyman and Floyd Mayweather. It was the opposite. It was take the lowest risk with the biggest reward. right? And the biggest example of that is obviously what happened between Mayweather and Conor McGregor. Like nobody expected McGregor to go in and try to like beat Floyd Mayweather. But for Floyd Mayweather, it was like, man, this is easy money, easy payday.
Easy money.
Even Al Heyman came out and he was talking about, I guess Floyd Mayweather was talking to Al Heyman saying that don't do it, don't come out of retirement, like that's it. That's it. But Mayweather, I think he knew like I have to do this. Yeah, and it's not because obviously it's about the money, but it's just so simple, you know, like, and that's one thing about Floyd Mayweather that was so criticized, right? About how many years he ended up escaping, not fighting Manny Pacquiao, right? But at the end of the day, it just comes down to how many fighters with low risk can I maximize this amount of money, right? And then, you know, return all that money even to myself. So it's really interesting seeing that, because if you look at any single sport, like in the NBA, English Premier League, or in football, you always have the athletes protesting for a contract.
Exactly.
You know, and in boxing, you don't have that. Yeah. You don't have that because your contract, there is no contract. You're just signed for a promoter, and your money depends on how many fights you have, right? And how much money you make into each fight. Yeah.
And not to knock off Mayweather, you know, how smart he is, but he would not have made this much money at the end of his career without Al Heyman. You know, because Al showed him, like, you know, he went to Harvard. He has that background in finances, and he's the one that showed him how to maximize, you know, how to do it without like a promoter or without, you know, the middleman. And so, yeah, Al Heyman definitely changed the game.
And honestly, the Al Heyman would not exist, even Mayweather would not exist, if boxing in general was regulated. In this case, if you look at any single sport in general, there's always a bracket or a table. It tells you, like, at the end of the day, these are the top 8, 16 teams, 4, whatever you want to call it, and they all eventually are going to face each other in the finals, right? In boxing, you don't have that. Like, you have mandatories when you have a belt, but the WBC doesn't mean anything, because I could just vacate the belt, have somebody else fight for it, because the belts don't count. Because at the end of the day, it's just
sanctioning
fees. I'd just rather get paid. You know, I don't want that.
Exactly. And back to Al Heyman, I don't know why this came to mind. It's like him and Mayweather are like chess compared to, you know, the Don King and the Mike Tyson. They were like I guess you could see they put the blueprint out, but Al and Mayweather just took it to a whole nother level. Yeah. That's what they done with the game.
And the thing is, they were brothers. Like, they stuck together, not just like, obviously there's always going to be long fights and wars inside the ring, but outside the ring, which was much far worse fights. For instance, like during May 2016, Bob Arum sued Al Heyman, and Top Rank was trying to sue Al Heyman for $100 million for the Ali Act. And that's basically trying to that Al Heyman was not protecting his fighters, that he was only looking after himself, which they ended up settling an agreement.
It was a settlement, yeah.
It was a settlement, but not many people knew how much was the settlement. But one thing that came out 8 months later in that settlement was the fact that one of the terms of the settlement was that exclusivity provision in Heyman's deals with various networks that televised PBC cards was dropped. And in this case, because you know how when PBC started, it was like not just on NBC, on CBS, or in Fox, it was also on ESPN. So one of the biggest arguments with Al Heyman when they were suing them, he's like, hey, why are you getting all these networks? Like, you're monopolizing every single network. Like, what about us, you know? So part of the settlement was that he needed to drop one of those networks. And that was ESPN. So this is the reason why I'm bringing up all those networks in the beginning. Because Golden Boy Promotions then got a deal last year because this settled it right here, this settlement. Once Top Rank sued Al Heyman, settled, Golden Boy said, all right, ESPN is open. Let me go buy some slots for that. That's where we're at with Golden Boy and ESPN. That's how we came to this conclusion with Golden Boy. But that was not even the last lawsuit. Then there was a second lawsuit, and this is probably the biggest one, honestly. This was against Golden Boy with Al Heyman. And this ended up ending in January 2017. And this was so far more than $100 million. So Golden Boy was suing them for $300 million this time. And part of the reason why they were suing them for that much was because Al Heyman, towards the later stage, like took a lot of fighters from
From the
Golden Boy.
stable, yeah.
We're talking about Leo Santa Cruz, Amner Matis, Amir Khan, Keith Thurman. So many good fighters. Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
And now who does Golden Boy have? Like I can name how many fighters. Look how many I could count. Linares, Canelo, Jojo Diaz. What's that one kid that's coming up?
Oh, Ryan Garcia.
Garcia.
Ryan Garcia. And who else?
Munguia, right? He has
Munguia.
Lemieux.
Yeah, not a lot.
Not a lot.
Not
So
a lot that come to
so
mind.
eventually he needs to start making business with somebody else besides top rank. So it's not that many. So at the end of the day, the way PBC came to play was because investors called Waddell and Reed ended up investing Al Haymon $500 million to create like this war chest.
So Waddell and Reed are his two main.
This is like this investment firm that just not donated, but just they saw an opportunity, and in the end you're gonna get a return, right? So, but they took a huge blows because at the end of the day they were trying to create PBC, but at the same time too they were also being sued by not just a Golden Boy but also Top Rank.
Okay.
And currently, right now, from my understanding, I think Al Haymon has like around 200 boxers. Like 200 boxers. That's in the league in itself. Like not many. Like I just told you how many fighters I could count with Golden Boy.
Yeah.
That's just like 5. I'm pretty sure he has like
More, yeah.
But
He can
But not
create
big
like
names.
his own UFC for
He-
boxing, huh?
Yeah,
and that's and I'm glad you mentioned that because I believe Dana White actually had a conversation with Al Haymon, and Al Haymon wanted to take notes on how Dana White did his business. Because if you look at Dana White, like he's the businessman, and he did something that everybody wants to do, and that's not just have UFC and pay-per-view right every single month, but actually have UFC on the mainstream. In this case, when you think about UFC, it's always going to be on Fox Sports, right? And that's what Al Haymon wanted to do: have boxing as like one league, right? And then also be on mainstream, and then build them up to pay-per-view, right? That's how you make your investment money back. So that's what Al Haymon tried to like do, and he's still trying. And I think, and at the end of the day, I think he won because he took the blows and he killed off HBO, and now he has this big stable of boxers, and he has these 2 new TV deals. One being Showtime, who has been consistently with him for a long time, and then second, Fox. And what's so funny about that deal with Fox, and they asked Espinoza this too, because they're saying that Fox is going to be having their own pay-per-views. So it's good because now, Showtime, don't sleep. Okay, we're going to be doing all the pay-per-views now, right? Nope. Now you're going to have Fox pay-per-view versus Showtime pay-per-view. So that's more competition besides having Danza, you know? So that's good in itself. So Al Haymon, like he's, and they asked Espinoza, like, do you like that? He's like, as a promoter, you know, like not really. But if you're a fan, like, yeah, you got to like that. There's more options. But to me, like what was so interesting was the fact that a lot of people, when they were suing Al Haymon, specifically Golden Boy, they had this impression that the boxers were not being taken care of at all. And that's not necessarily true. When they were testifying in court, there was actually 6 fighters that came to testify on behalf of Al Haymon. The most notable ones was Daniel Jacobs, John Molina, Sean Porter, and the last one's really interesting, Leo Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
The only reason why I say Leo Santa Cruz is because his son is named Al.
Coincidence. What a coincidence.
So at the end of the day, that lawsuit between Golden Boy and Al Haymon got dismissed. Got dismissed.
Wow.
So they didn't have to pay $300 million to Al Haymon didn't have to pay $300 million to Golden Boy. Apparently, this is what the Heyman's lawyer said, Michael Williams. He said the court recognizes that the Ali Act to protect boxers, not promoters, was especially hypocritical, given that the court cited evidence that confirms that Haymon has consistently looked to protect the interests of boxers.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Any decline in Golden Boy's business cannot be attributed to the hard work and legal activities of my clients. In this case, HAYMON. And then not only that, the judge came out and he was quoted saying, "It is undisputed that HAYMON Sports has worked with promoters across the industry." And this is true. If you look at how the previous years have been, like Al Heyman's in the back and he has other promoters do this stuff. In this case, either Golden Boy, like that fight between Stubborn and Wilder, that was promoted by Golden Boy.
Yeah.
Top Rank, Devella have done business with HAYMON as promoters. So those are promoters that were actually doing the job for HAYMON.
Yeah.
He was just in the back seat just managing them. Yeah. But the thing is,
it makes sense why he doesn't give interviews, and so there's like completely no confusion that he's promoting anything at all. Because nowadays you could promote anything on YouTube, pretty much like any social platform, and so I guess that's a reason, so that he knows that there's definitely no confusion with him promoting anything at all.
Yeah, Christian, you mentioned something about the fights last Saturday, right? The show that you guys did. Who'd you run into?
Oh yeah, we ran into Leo Santa Cruz's brother Antonio, and so yeah, me just being try to do my little investigative homework. I went up to him, started making small talk, and asked him a little bit about Al Heyman. And so yeah, he had nothing but good things to say about him. He takes care of the Santa Cruz family. They're very appreciative of everything he's done. And so this is a story that we constantly hear from fighters, that Al has done nothing but taking care of fighters, and that's something that in boxing's history is not always the case. And so, Chris, anything you would like to add?
No, and I think I do. This is how I want to end things, because it basically sums up everything where we're at with HBO, why it died. All right. So Cameron Duncan, he manages Terrence Crawford.
Okay.
A lot of people think, doesn't Bob Arum? He's the promoter. Cameron Duncan is the manager of Terrence Crawford. Now, Terrence Crawford right now, arguably top 5 pound for pound fighter, right? So he was quoted because he lost fighters under Al Heyman, because he used to manage Leo Santa Cruz and Mikey Garcia, and they asked him about Al Heyman in general, and this is what he was quoted. He's saying, "It's a constant battle to hold on to your fighters," Duncan says. Heyman has his guys whispering in their ear, "Danny Garcia is making more money than you because he's with Al, and you're better than Danny Garcia. Al is flying his fighters around in a private jet. All I can tell my guys is stay with me. If you do your job in the ring, I'll get you on HBO. HBO isn't going to disappear, and Heyman might."
Oh, dang. That's like one of those tweets that don't age well. Dang. Yeah.
I'm still sad about HBO.
It still hurts. It's too soon.
We're like a week removed from that big news. I don't think I've processed it yet. Hasn't kicked in.
It's all because of
Al Heyman, right? The ghost.
Interesting character.
Yeah, and that's all that. I mean, that's their information.
It's all connected, right? That's what it seems like.
Yeah, it's all connected. Like basically, boxing revolves around one man.
But do you think he would be able to do this, like, let's say in the early 2000s or late 90s? Because it seems like he's able to do this because, like, we talked about this last year. There's no boxing superstar now, right? Like, the boxers aren't really calling the shots nowadays, right? There's only a couple, like, I don't think he would be able to do that, back then with the big names of De La Hoya or Mike Tyson and Shane Mosley. I think this era allows him to do what he's doing now. And because I feel like the boxers probably need a guy like that, and boxing itself probably needs a guy like that, right? And the networks and all the investors, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree, because in boxing, you don't have somebody to take care of you. Like, you don't have a salary. It depends on how many fights you have.
Yeah.
When you are in the NBA or in NFL or soccer, whatever you want to call it, other sports, like, you have contracts, you have sponsorships, you know? And that's the thing with Al Heyman. Like, he really like took care of his, or not that he still is taking care of his fighters. And that's the perception that some people give this bad look. And some people, like, I understand why some people may not like him. In fact, when they did the PBC like introduction, like the press conference, like this is what PBC is going to be about, like the press conference, like you know how Apple has like all our new product.
Yeah.
So they ended up having like their own event.
Yeah.
But it's for
the suits and
PBC. They
everything,
had their
yeah.
suits. Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah.
So there was one guy that was not invited as a reporter. When you think about boxing reporters, who do you think of? Like, give me two.
I think of Dan Rafael.
What about you, Gio?
I don't pay attention to reporters.
Well, yeah, he wasn't invited.
Oh, Dan Rafael was not invited? What? Yeah, was there a reason why?
I guess he's had some interesting articles that he published regarding Al Heyman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's petty.
It's petty, but you know what's more petty? So this is why you have to like understand why certain people write stuff, but more importantly, like where does it come from, right? One of the biggest, like, well-known, established, published boxing magazines is Ring Magazine, right? And they wrote a 5-piece article on Al Heyman, like the history, like when he was like probably like when he was a baby all the way till like the end. Like this is a long like if you look it up, it's
interesting.
It's really long.
What's the question you had earlier, Chris? About Ring Magazine?
Oh yeah, do we consider the Ring the most credible ranking like entity?
And what did we say? It's
What'd you-
owned by Mr. Golden Boy, man.
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
did not know that.
And Oscar De La Hoya
And-
bought Ring Magazine in 2007.
Yeah, and it was interesting when you said that they wrote this long thing about Al Heyman, because I'm like, who would do that?
Right.
Yeah, who would do
Who would
that?
take their time to?
Wasn't who did
who
we
would
just
have the
mention?
information?
Who did we just mention sued Al Heyman? Golden Boy.
Golden
Alright,
Boy.
that's right.
It's all connected.
Yeah, so that's why when Bernard Hopkins was gonna fight Kovalev, that was huge. That was huge for a number of reasons.
Hopkins,
Why?
Kovalev.
There was a number of reasons why. Because before that fight, Bernard Hopkins will only fight on Showtime.
That's true.
And he left Showtime because he got a deal with Golden Boy. He got a 5% stake of Golden Boy, and you're set. But then he went from Showtime to HBO. And he kept on saying something in the press conference that kind of like got to my head. He was saying, "Oh, the Cold War has ended. Like the Cold War has ended. Like this war between the networks has ended because of my move that I just did. I just did a power play. Now other boxers can come to HBO and fight." And when I was saying like, no, the Cold War just evolved, dude. Like, that's what ended up happening. And now it has evolved into the mainstream networks: Fox, ESPN, Danza, Showtime. So it's gonna be interesting how we're all playing it out. But at the end of the day, all these
Should turn into a world war, huh?
it's gonna be
It's all everybody for themselves.
yeah. So you'll see that. But the good thing about having boxing in the mainstream TV like Fox and all those networks is that more people are gonna obviously watch it, right? Instead of paying subscription. But when we start seeing suspect calls, mismatches, people are going to start questioning like, hey, why is this happening?
True.
And I think that's going to create not pressure on the promoters and the boxers.
Accountability.
There's going to be more accountability on the WBC to like, hey, manage this. That Ali Act, that was created in 2000. And that's like the government coming in trying to regulate a sport. That tells you like how bad like things are.
And it's interesting that you mentioned WBC, because I feel like these organizations or councils, whatever you want to call them, they don't get really held accountable, right? It all falls on the promoters or the boxers, like, oh, this guy's cherry picking. But at the end of the day, it's the organizations who are, allowing these fights to happen, right?
I mean, that's where the what do they call it? The voluntary defenses come in,
Yes.
right? It's like for every other fight, you have a voluntary defense, and that's where like cherry picking occurs. And then they're trying to combat that by having you fight your mandatories. But then again, sometimes your mandatories are not.
Yeah, most of the time it's like, who is this guy?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Because every alphabet organization has a different mandatory rankings. Are just like whoever they want to rank, and so
Mandatories are like Randy Orton, dude. Like out of nowhere, this person just comes up like, who is this boxer?
Yeah.
Like, how did you get that spot? Like,
Mhm.
I've been watching boxing for 5 years and I didn't even know your name.
Yeah.
Like that's what happens in mandatory fights. But I think that's where we should like leave off Al Heyman. I'll let people decide what they think about Al Heyman, but I think Al Heyman has his pros and cons.
Mhm.
But I like the fact when these new networks and promoters like Bob Arum and Golden Boy Oscar were saying, "Oh, it's good that we have boxing on the
Yeah.
mainstream. Like now we can broadcast on ESPN." Like, nah, Al Heyman beat you to it,
Yeah.
and this happened in 2015. How come you weren't saying
Mhm.
anything about it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's because you lost your fighters and you're like basically jealous,
Yeah.
And that's my perception as why HBO had to throw in the towel.
Because they didn't have any more power moves.
And I think that's one area, since we were talking about the mismatches and the questioning about why does this fighter fight somebody. So then we had news regarding the WBC mandatories, and I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. No, so the WBC they hold their yearly, convention where they talk, where they outline who the mandatories for the upcoming year are. You have a whole year to plan. Sometimes fighters just fight 2-3 times a year, so that's where they outline their mandatories for their current champions, their current title holders. So you guys want to start from the top, heavyweight,
Yep.
all the way to the bottom?
Go ahead.
So in the heavyweight, the WBC champion, of course, is Deontay Wilder, and he's scheduled to fight, as we mentioned earlier, Tyson Fury. And so, do you guys want to guess who the mandatory for? It's Dominic Brazil.
For Deontay?
The winner.
Was the winner of that Deontay Wilder Fury fight.
Now, I actually seen him fight.
Yeah.
And who has he lost to?
I
I think didn't Wilder already fought him already?
Brazil, I think he
he
lost
did.
to
I don't know. I'm not sure.
He lost to one of them.
one
I
of them.
think
Either
Joshua.
Joshua or Wilder.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy to say that he's a mandatory, where you could make a case that that Dillian White would be a better option for that mandatory, since he did beat Parker. He gave Joshua a good fight,
Yeah.
so that's where there's a little suspect.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, the mandatories.
Well,
you
I mean,
said,
It's their ranking system. It's
Randy Orton out of nowhere. Shit. I don't know.
My thing is like, there's another heavyweight out there.
Right.
How come
How come that
pressure?
guy isn't ranked up
How
there
come
as a mandatory?
make him the mandatory?
Yeah, that's
Rarely are the biggest names the actual mandatory.
Mm.
It's always like some guy below. Right?
and that makes sense because they want to get those sanctioning fees, and so like why unify when we can like try to break these, and try to get some fees out of them. So
I know it's so difficult to unify a belt nowadays, man. That's nearly impossible.
Nah,
Mhm.
That's why I brought up Terrence Crawford, like what he did and like how he did it during this time. That's like kudos.
yeah, that's why this next person, the cruiserweight, that's why he's ranked so high, because this guy did unify the division. So this is Alexander Usyk, and he's the undisputed champion. He holds all the major belts, and his mandatory, like he doesn't have one at this point, but he is fighting Tony Bellew on November 10th.
Yeah, and that's huge.
That is huge.
That's a
November
good
10th.
fight.
That's a good fight because Bellew's coming.
Who's showing this fight?
Danza.
Danza, yeah.
The Zone.
The Zone.
The Zone.
All right. I'll be tuning in.
That one's gonna be good because Bellew is coming down from heavyweight to dropping a few pounds to.
Is that app still working well, Chris?
Look, in my phone, I'm not the type of people that has their apps on the front page. I
Oh,
just
do
want
you?
to see the time. That's it. Like the first thing I just want to do is look at time. But now these days, I put Danza to the right and my
Yeah.
Spotify to the left.
Nice. You don't need no more. What do you need? Any more apps? That's all you need.
He said last week he felt like he was driving a car with a brand new oil change.
Yeah,
And the
Working
tune-up.
with that app.
my phone has turned into an Apple now. Like Like, look at this. Look at the intro. Look, it's amazing.
Nice.
Looks nice.
And they're getting big names to
He's the
be
good oil
ambassadors,
change.
right? They got like Cristiano Ronaldo.
They got Cristiano Ronaldo.
I think they got
Yeah.
50 too. 50 Cent.
Man,
Get the
making
strap.
moves.
I mean, business
Making
moves for
moves.
sure.
Yeah, man. These guys are.
Yeah, the zone has a good lineup, and we'll talk about,
All right, what else we
that.
got?
So for light heavyweight, so for the WBC, believe it or not, the champion is still Adonis Stevenson, and he will make his mandatory defense against interim titleist Alexander Gozdev on December 1st in Quebec. So it's a hometown fight.
All right, next.
So well, this was interesting because he has to fight, former title holder Badu
Give a
Jack if
fuck
he gets
about
past
that.
this guy. So moving on, super middleweight. So we talked about this guy, super middleweight, Gio. So your boy David
man.
Benavides,
My man.
your boy David Benavides
My man.
did get stripped of his title for tasting positive for cocaine.
Illegal substances.
Did you saw what they called him right now?
No, what did they call him?
No, the WBC, because of his suspension, and he was stripped from his title.
Oh, champion. And
He's a
recess?
champion in recess.
I mean,
That was like Fury, right?
yeah, I was gonna say that's like Fury, right?
Champion
I like that.
Reese's.
Tick-
Champion in recess.
That's cute.
Taking-
All right, what else you got?
So for that one, he has to. Oh, I guess it's gonna be a vacant belt or a vacant fight between Anthony Durrell and some nobody. I don't
All
know.
right, we got middleweight.
Middleweight. Dun, 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 dun. Unified World Champion Canelo Alvarez. So he's scheduled to do what we talked about earlier,
Some respect on his name.
a voluntary defense.
And then the respect goes out the window.
Well, he can fight whoever the fuck he wants, man.
So
we
I
already
think,
know
I
with
think
him.
he's earned
You
it.
can't give that guy mandatory.
Nah.
Yeah.
So he has a voluntary defense if he wants to take it. Most likely it will be Lemieux in December.
Yeah. and when was the last time he had a fucking mandatory, dude?
When he fought Khan.
That was a mandatory knockout. That's what it was. Come on, man.
Wow. This one's
interesting.
This one's really. We could really dive into this
Yeah.
one. This one pissed me off, dude.
Let's do it.
Let me tell you why it pissed me off. Right. I mentioned to you leading up to the Triple G and Canelo fight for September, like Triple G needed to find an opponent, somebody for May 5th, try to occupy a StubHub Center for that day.
Yeah.
And they couldn't find anybody, and then they put, how about you fight Debrachenko? You're mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, nah, let me fight this guy.
Yeah.
And when that happened, they stripped him from his belt. That was his first time that he didn't fight his mandatory, and they stripped him from his belt.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't give, what did he call it right here?
It's like the interim or the emeritus.
No, what type of, what's the name of why Canelo got away with this? They didn't let Triple G give a voluntary defense. Like, how come they didn't give Triple G that, and they're giving Canelo this right now?
That's boxing politics.
By
Favorite
the
son.
way, do you know who's the mandatory
For
for Canelo? Like, you saw the
Who is it?
mandatory.
it's gonna be the winner, right?
No.
Who is it?
No.
Who is it?
It's been for a long time.
Who is it?
Charlo.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which
That's
one?
right. Yeah. The Jamal.
Shit, I don't know. They're all the same.
But
Jamal.
Charlo has been waiting for
He's
so
been waiting
long.
for so long.
Yeah,
We'll
he's
give
been
you
waiting
that.
for so long, and now
He was supposed to get Canelo immediately, right? Technically.
yeah, and this
You
is
can't put that on pay-per-view.
what?
That fight.
Which
Jamal
one?
Canelo.
Canelo against whatever his name is. But
Charlo?
I wonder what network that would be on, man. I think we're gonna talk about that a little bit later.
No, I mean this is so cold. They're doing Triple G
That's-
dirty again, just feeding off to Charlo like another young boxer. Like that's more wear and tear for Canelo to have a cool fight in December. Let Triple G go to war, and then more than likely he's not gonna fight him in May, or he's gonna more than likely fight him
So
in
who's supposed to fight Charlo?
Canelo.
So Canelo's supposed to get, or Charlo is supposed to get a shot at the title, direct shot at the title, but the WBC has now ordered that
He
Charlo
can
has
do whatever he wants.
Charlo has to fight Triple G, and the winner of that one gets Canelo.
That's cool.
It's like another roadblock for Charlo that he shouldn't have had. Is what
I
Chris is
think
saying.
it's unfair for Charlo and also unfair
Well,
for Triple G.
It's unfair in the sense that, yeah, he shouldn't wait that long, but I don't think it's fair in the sense of competition because he's nowhere near Triple G or Canelo's level. So why are you going to get a title shot with the big dog if you can't? You're not going to be Triple G.
Do you think he has a shot at beating Triple G, Chris?
Fuck out of here, man.
Do you think?
Triple G shouldn't be fighting Charlo.
I personally
In
like.
general.
Yeah, I personally like.
Yeah.
I do like the matchup.
The matchup should be interesting.
I do like it. I do see like. Let's just say officially Triple G lost. On the scorecards, and so he does need another fight to earn his shot again. And so I feel like this is a good fight. I would love to see it.
You shouldn't need a shot if you're like the undisputed middleweight champion, pretty much, dude.
Shouldn't, but
You shouldn't fight this lower level guy. Should fucking fight
Why?
Canelo again.
Why is the WBC telling Triple G that you have to fight Charlo in order for you to get a chance to fight Canelo?
Oh.
And how long has Triple G has had those belts
Yeah,
and
true,
done
true.
I'm saying.
and done so many years?
That's what I'm saying.
that's true. That's the WC trying to strong arm a little bit.
They're trying to. I'm telling you, HBO was trying to kill him, and now it's the WBC. So I'll leave it as that.
So what else? What other mandatories?
So that's for the middleweight. For junior middleweight, this is also interesting. It's Jermel, the other half of the Charlo brothers.
Thought we were talking about him the whole time. All right, just go ahead, dude.
It's a 160 and 154. So the 154, he has so there's gonna be a final elimination bout to determine his mandatory. That's gonna be between Julian Williams and Erislandy Lara. So
Oh, that should be good.
that should be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that should be a good, interesting matchup. Lara,
Yeah, I would like Lara to get that.
do you like Lara?
I like Lara.
Yeah. What about you, Chris?
I used to really like him after that fight with what's the man that he just lost to?
Heard?
Hurd.
That was a good fight.
That was a good fight, but I was just a little disappointed. I thought Lara should have used his experience.
Yeah, same here. But I always like Lara. I always thought he should have got chances at guys, but guys didn't want to take him on, and that's why I give Canelo credit because he took him on kind of early.
Yeah.
Like Canelo
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
really need to take him on, and you talk about low risk, high reward. Canelo didn't get shit for that fight.
True.
He didn't get money. If anything, people talk more shit because they thought the fight was close.
I remember Richard Schaefer actually telling Canelo to not take that
Yeah.
fight.
Mm-hmm.
He shouldn't have either because Lara has like fucking 200 fans, dude. Like, come on. And then he got the fight just by shit talking.
Yeah.
At that point, I feel like Lara should have got a couple more good wins under his belt and then fight Canelo.
Yeah, with me,
But-
I'll never knock off Canelo's resume. He's fought everybody. I do think he lost that fight, but that's just my opinion. But
He always loses, man. What's wrong with you?
Wow.
I mean,
How many losses does he have, fool?
He's got
5?
Mayweather. He's got a lot of.
Nah, according to you.
Yes.
with Conor
lost to
with
Mayweather.
Conor was
Yeah. Khan,
close.
he was losing. Hey, he was losing to Khan.
He was losing to Pierce.
Yeah.
He was losing to Khan.
Clearly.
Yeah, no, you can never knock off Canelo.
So who else you got?
This is one is interesting. All right, so follow with me. Sean Porter won the Big Ten title against Danny Garcia. He must make 2 mandatory defenses in a row
What in a row?
per WBC rules. This is where it gets weird. Who do you want Sean Porter to fight right now?
Oh, yeah, we talked about this.
Keith.
Or
Who else is there? Spence.
okay,
Yeah.
leave it at that.
Those
So
are
the-
only 3 names right now. Honestly, welterweight. There's nobody else.
Or Crawford. So then
Yeah.
the first mandatory challenger.
He's not even a real welterweight yet. He beat the Hornet, man.
Yeah, the horn is no joke.
No, it's
Dude,
not.
I was watching highlights of that shit actually the other day on YouTube because it just popped up.
Versus who?
Fucking Hornet, dude. Australian dude. Guy fights like a man. Never mind.
Yeah, head first.
Fights like a cartoon, dude.
So, anyways, Sean Porter won the
Dude,
belt.
I saw Crawford give him a body punch. This fool took like 4 steps back, dude. I was like, what the f- no type of balance. All right.
You got to show that
Dude.
for sure. You already know what I mean. So, when Sean Porter beat Danny Garcia, he now needs to make 2 mandatory defenses. But this is so weird
Mm-hmm.
because, look, the first mandatory challenger has not been determined.
That's what they said. I'm like,
I'm like,
at least
okay.
throw a name there. Like,
But guess what? The second mandatory challenger is Andre Berto. Dude, let me ask you something. How do you not know your first?
Didn't he retire?
He's still fighting, dude. He's still fighting. But look, how is it that you have not determined a fighter for the first one?
But you already got the
Like
second one lined up. Did he just like? Did we just talk about if he loses to Alexander, he's like he should retire?
This
Did we talk
is
about
so
this?
weird. Yeah.
He could barely edge that win out, man. Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting. I didn't actually read this. So I guess more news on the welterweight saying that also when former titleist Keith Thurman, who owns a win over Porter but vacated the WC belt and still holds the WBA due to injury, returns to the ring, he has the right to immediately fight for the WBC belt.
It's almost like it's gonna be Keith Thurman if he comes back. If he comes back, I've seen some clips of him. He's a little overweight. Keith doesn't look like he's ready to come back anytime soon.
Just with this news that you get, do you actually see Sean Porter versus Errol Spence happening?
Nope.
Nowhere in that I heard Errol Spence or even close to Errol Spence.
And you saw what happened after.
But I want to see Errol Spence fight these guys, dude.
Yeah.
Like I said, I want to know if he's really that good because I know you guys rate him so high, but he hasn't beaten anybody.
You're talking about Errol?
Yeah, Errol Spence.
That Kelbrook just puts him very close up there.
Kill, bro.
Like,
All right.
In England, which is tough. We talked about how tough it is to win overseas.
All you had to do was punch him in the eye one time and it was a wrap.
So Triple
Thank
G
Triple
did all that
G.
work.
All right, what else we got?
What else we got, Chris?
Do you want to skip the junior or welterweight? I'm
You
not
can
sure.
say it just real quick. I don't know. Who's the champion there?
I am reading. Title holder Jose Ramirez appointed Antonio Roscoe on September 14th. Allowed to make another voluntary defense.
Yeah, skip it.
I guess the only interesting thing
but
about that,
you go ahead, say it.
so that they're saying that potential, fighters for that belt is a match between an eliminator between Adrian Broner and Jorge Linares. That one's very interesting.
That's good. What about next weight class?
And also, who else has a shot to come back into the mix? Victor Postol. So those are the names that are in that mix. All right, Chris, lightweight.
Then lightweight, Mikey Garcia is a unified title holder and will be next make a mandatory defense of his IBF belt against Richard Comey. You ever heard of this guy before?
No, you told us about this guy, and I'm like, who the heck is this guy?
RKO.
I never heard of Robert Easter Jr. There's another one. All right, it looks like another victim. All right, next.
I like this the second half of that though, Chris.
Go ahead.
So his WBC mandatory challenger is Luke Campbell, who did outpoint Ivan Mendy, and we saw that match on the Zone. It's a pretty good match.
Yeah, you seen him fight Luke Campbell? He's a good fighter.
Good fighter.
Yeah, he's a good fighter. Okay, so let's skip the junior lightweight, but let's go to the featherweight. I think this is actually gonna happen, and even it starts off right away. In an unusual move, titleist Gary Russell Jr. was ordered to fight WBA titleist Leo Santa Cruz.
That one's gonna be good.
Yeah.
That's gonna be good.
By the way, all this information comes from ESPN, Dan Rafael, this past week. But Gary Russell Jr. versus Leo Santa Cruz, what do you think of that? You think that's going to be on the undercard for Deontay Wilder and Fury?
Man, it
Hopefully.
should be. It should be.
If it is,
We did get
I'll be watching.
some intel right at the at our Allstar
Go ahead.
fights, and we ran into Antonio Santa Cruz, the brother of Leo Santa Cruz, and he did tell us that Al's trying to put Leo on that undercard, and so hopefully it makes sense. Staples Center, Latino base,
Yeah.
it makes sense to put him in there, and this would be a
That'll be a
great
good fight.
fight for
That would
that
be a
pay-per-view.
good fight.
Good undercard.
So with this, guys, let's move on to other big news in the boxing world: free agency.
Mm.
And so we have the two biggest names that are free agents now, Canelo and Triple G. And so I gotta ask, where did these guys go?
Follow the money.
Yeah, follow the money
Follow
for
the money.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was Triple G, I'll make sure that I'll let Canelo do his first move.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why.
That makes sense.
because Canelo has already claimed December 15th to come back to fight.
Mhm.
So that means that anytime soon he's going to sign with somebody already.
Mm-hmm.
And Triple G is not scheduled to fight anybody unless the
Mhm.
WBC actually makes him fight Charlo,
Mm-hmm.
which means that he needs to go to PBC or somewhere in Showtime. Let Canelo make his first move. See who he signs and then weigh your options to see whether or not it's a 1-fight term or a 2-fight term or
Mhm.
3-fight. Because obviously you want your trilogy. And that's and the only way you're going to have to follow is not because he has the belts, but because you have to follow the network.
Yeah, definitely. Because if Triple G signs with somebody and then Canelo signs with somebody else,
That's just going to make it harder.
it's gonna be harder. And at this stage of his career, he's in his late 30s. You know that you don't want to just jeopardize the third fight. That's a
Right.
lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's your biggest money fight.
And I think both promoters, they get the sense that, yeah, let's make the fight.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be no problems because it's the biggest money fight that you can make right now. And I think Golden Boy is now more confident that Triple G can go down now
Mm-hmm.
after seeing the second fight.
Yeah. And that was very smart moves on them, having Triple G age. Yep.
Hiding behind that flag for a long time.
Yeah. Joe, your thoughts?
I agree with it.
Cool.
Yeah, just if both guys can link up with the same, network, it's only gonna make things that much easier. It's gonna be interesting to see where they land though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. So another topic, guys. What did we learn in September?
What did we learn in September?
So many things that happened in September.
There's a lot of good fights.
Yeah.
We learned a lot.
I'll start with something I learned. I learned that boy Canelo can fight. I have newfound respect.
You just learned. I learned that
Newfound-
shit in January.
Newfound respect for Canelo because he came to fight and he fought well, and he convinced me, that was definitely a fight that he won. At least the second one for sure. So that's my point.
I learned that Danny Garcia can no longer cherry pick. Right, he's not in the driver's seat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He has a couple losses. Those days are over. If he wants to get back on top of that division, he's gonna have to fight the top guys.
Nice.
Yeah, with me, I think I learned that this month of September was the start of a new era of boxing in general. The fact that HBO is gone and you have all these new
I thought you were
networks
gonna say Canelo's era.
claiming this is not. I think this is not Canelo's era. This is basically the mainstream era now
Mainstream
of
era.
boxing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What else you learned, Chris?
What else I learned in September? I learned that it's nice to have an app like DAZN because I'm hella busy and it's nice to just be able to see some fights, especially with the mix of mainstream. It's nice to have that.
Yeah,
Those
that's
fights
where
up there.
things are moving now. Nobody
Yeah.
watches TV. Man. Come on.
Yeah.
Boys get busy.
I learned that Amir Khan still doesn't have a chin. He got knocked down once again. He did win his fight this month, but man, this guy stays on the canvas.
Chris, anything else you learned?
I saw a different type of Triple G in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I mentioned this in the first podcast. Like, we all know he has the technique, the ring generalship,
Yeah.
and he likes to, get dog. Like if things go rough, he's down to get down in the trenches. In this case, he was. People want to call it more coming back down. Not the Mexicans down, but there was something about watching Triple G during that time, telling me that I'm not dead yet, while everybody's trying to claim me dead. It's like one of those things. Like you remember watching? You ever watch Training Day?
Yeah.
When Denzel Washington's like, you can shoot me, but you can't kill me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it felt like for Triple G. Like he was shooting as much as he can before he had to leave the stage. And I learned that Triple G has a hell of a heart.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
see what else I learned in September. I'm gonna miss HBO. It's still hard to process. Like that's what we grew up with. That was like, that's where we got our boxing fix from HBO. So it's gonna be a tough pill to swallow, for sure.
I learned that the heavyweight division is back and that we're gonna see even bigger fights in 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that'll take away with the heavyweight division this month. That Anthony Joshua, I mean, he's a special man. It's just the way how he's going to get promoted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to go ahead and fight mandatories, make excuses about networks, that money's not on the table? I think this month leads up to what type of potential we have in the year 2019.
Yeah.
Says a lot.
Mm-hmm. And with that, we're gonna move up to October.
I also learned that cocaine is real. Shout out to Billy and Benavides.
No.
What else you got?
So we got the October lineup. Chris, you want to go over that with many of the shows coming out on
Oktoberfest.
the zone?
Yeah, this is Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest.
So we're going to go week by week.
Mhm.
All right. So this week, October 6th, we got Jesse Vargas versus Thomas Delorme, 12-round welterweight fight. Under the undercard, Artur Berterby versus Callum Johnson for Berterby's IBF lightweight. Third undercard fight is Gerald Miller. He's worth noting because he's a heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been calling out Joshua.
That's it.
And the only reason why I'm bringing that up is because all these three fights have something to do with Anthony and Joshua. They're promoted and they're going to be broadcast on the app.
The zone. And so, I mean, if there's a heavyweight there that they're trying to promote him, bring his profile up, and so
Jared Miller, they could easily put him there.
with Joshua,
You know?
while they wait for the
Wilder.
others to
Yep.
age.
And they can have Joshua come to the States to fight Jared Miller.
That makes sense.
That way he can have like an American audience
Mhm.
in the meantime while you try to fight Deontay Wilder. The same day on Saturday, this Saturday, we got Soren Beatside versus Iron Diaz. So nice to see him. But the fight's not going to be non-televised. I don't know where it's going to be at. But the next day, on Sunday, this Sunday, Danza is also going to have Naoya Inoue, that silent cold killer.
Silent killer.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see this.
Yeah, I really want to see this guy fight.
Mhm.
I heard of him. I've seen the highlights of him, but I haven't really seen a fight. I have the app, which is free trial the first month. Make sure you subscribe. I'm sounding like Jesse Vargas.
Are you getting paid for this? Yeah, damn.
He's getting a little side money by her.
Yeah, watch. In the next one, you probably see a big logo of Danza in the back.
All of a sudden, this one starts talking
Right.
about Al Heyman,
He's gonna have
the
a-
zone.
The zone shirt next time he
Right.
comes.
Yeah.
The zone cap, everything.
You'll see like a dry fit in the zone.
You got
Watch.
tickets to go to England over the
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah, Eddie Hearn. So, but next week, we have ESPN making a player move.
Here we go.
October 13, we got Terrence Crawford,
It's a big fight.
Omaha versus Jose Benavides. This is the brother that doesn't do cocaine.
So far.
It's true.
That's a good brother.
That's a good. He's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. Never mind.
Yeah, we don't know
Maybe he hasn't
until he
been
gets
tested,
caught.
man.
Until he gets caught. Hey, but
Why does he always fight in Omaha?
His
because
hometown.
That is
yeah,
my
it's his
problem, dude.
hometown.
How are you gonna get famous and
How
get
do
your name out there?
that makes
Go
sense.
somewhere else, man.
It's okay to have like a
Who
hometown
lives in
fight.
Omaha?
He fought Jeff Horn at Las Vegas,
Mm-hmm. He did.
His only fight, right?
That's where he sells tickets, right?
where he
In
won
Omaha?
Omaha.
Fucking Jeff Horn.
What does Roger Mayweather say? The best fighters are from the Midwest.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely right. Under the undercard in that fight of Terrence Crawford, Tupac fights Shakur Stevenson. So 10-round fight, but
Stevenson.
fighters to be announced. Something happened with the other fighter. He had to leave. So
He's a good prospect, man.
Yeah.
he's a definitely good
Shakur
He needs to
prospect.
stay away from Adrian Broner. And
He needs to stay away from fighters that have nothing to do with boxing anymore. These things. The next week you got October 20, right?
Uh-huh.
Again, Danza. October 20, Danza comes in. And this fight is still on play.
Oh,
Billy
yeah.
Joe Saunders
Your boy Billy.
Oh shit!
versus Andrade.
That one's an interesting fight.
Yeah.
Boo Boo's finally getting that that spotlight, and he can surprise. He's got
Yeah, I
he's got
think
So it's
tools.
still on
It's still on. Yeah.
as of now.
It's
We'll see
still-
next week.
No. It's still on. It's gonna go. It's still gonna be. They say that it's gonna go on
That's October when?
October 20
Okay.
and the zone.
Oh, shit! All right.
So I'll let you borrow my subscription.
All right.
The zone for sure.
Yeah.
Don't you have it in your PlayStation?
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, we'll
I
go over.
downloaded it on
we'll go over-
PlayStation and my TV.
Jeez.
Put it on the
yeah,
Fire
dude.
Stick. Yeah. When we go over to Chris's house next time, we're gonna see boxes of the Zone.
We're gonna go to Chris' house. We're all gonna be watching on our phones, not even the TV. Just gonna be on the app.
Look at your screen.
It's true.
Get your own.
It's true. It's true. So that's sad. And oh man, the way October ends. October 27, dude.
does it
Remember the
end?
day. HBO.
Oh,
Daniel Jacobs versus Debrachenko.
damn. And that's gonna be a good fight. Two top middleweights.
It's gonna be a nice fight. Nice fight.
Yeah, good fight. Last show of HBO.
Last potential show. There's actually you heard about this,
They
right?
said they might do. They want to pick up what the
Can-
Pacquiao maybe.
Yeah, they're trying to pick up the Canelo December 15th fight.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I was hearing. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what Golden Boy can do with that. Like if they want to make this next move a long-term deal or
Mhm.
just like
For one fight.
They'll probably just make it fight by fight,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like Mayweather had with the Showtime. You know,
Mm-hmm.
fight a certain amount of fights, and then after that, if you want to extend that, broadcast.
I mean,
relationship,
this
then
will
you
be a
probably do it.
nice gift if Golden Boy does allow Canelo to fight the last
Show of
big
HBO.
fight of HBO.
Yeah.
That'd
Can
be
you
nice.
imagine
I
that?
want fucking Daniel Jacobs to be the last. Come on, man.
So that's the end of October, and that's the end. So we have a lot of boxing in October,
Yeah. It's a lot of
That's
boxing
good, man.
October.
and we could. And I don't want to already talk about November, but we have Tony Bellew
Mm-hmm.
versus Usyk,
Mm-hmm.
and then we got Creed 2 in November.
Ooh.
So we got
And then we have our commentating fights on November 3rd.
so a lot of things going on in November. But right now, we mentioned Al Heyman being the ghost. Halloween's coming up, so we have a lot of boxing to cover in October. So it's nice picking up
nice.
from last month.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that, thank you guys
Wait.
for.
Do you guys want to talk about the show last Saturday?
Oh yeah.
Just real quick.
Go ahead.
Allstar Boxing Promotions.
So
We'll
it was
put the Facebook link on
yeah,
down
so-
below.
So we're gonna put the link below, but it was a great night of boxing. Gio was on special assignment in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. So we missed you, bro. Like to see you.
Yeah,
come
I was
back
out
out.
of town, but I'll tell you more about my findings later on.
Wow.
No, but it was a great show. All the fights were 4-rounders, and man, we got a lot of action. A lot of action packed into 4 rounds.
Yeah, we came early, Gio, to the event, and the ring wasn't even set yet. It was like a mattress without
Yeah.
even the ropes at all.
Mm-hmm.
But what was crazy was the fact that we saw the boxers getting paid.
Yeah.
Like they were
signing off
They're
their check.
signing their checks.
they were
Yeah.
signing their checks. They were in line, and then we saw boxers just chilling in the corner, just like meditating,
Yeah.
That's interesting.
like coming like 4 hours before the
Early.
event. You know, like trying to process
Mhm.
all that and like. What side is the red corner? What side is the blue
Blue corner.
corner? And then
Yeah.
this fighter goes that side, and then you have a guy that has like this big luggage of pure like gloves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I'm gonna use these gloves right here. Like
Yeah, so they provide the own gloves. You can't bring your own because obviously they have to be approved.
yeah.
sanction, yeah, not
Yeah.
those Canelo gloves. It's true.
It's true.
It's true. You
Yeah,
ain't gonna get
respect the
away with
game,
that.
man.
So that was really like surreal, like
Mhm.
being there. You know how when you watch movies, like for instance, like Creed,
Yeah.
they show him when he's in the locker. You know,
But you never think
you
to
soak
be-
it in,
yeah.
like damn, like how, this is how
Yeah.
it feels now. Being there is like,
Yeah. No, it's funny because we were like, me and our other colleague George we were doing the questionnaires, and I was like, Chris, you okay? He's like, no, yeah, I'm just soaking it in, like I'm just
right.
taking it in, you know. And I was like, yeah, go for it, buddy.
Yeah, so that was that, and then
How'd the show go?
and
The fights.
Yeah, the fights. Yeah, it picked up from the last time when we were doing the fights in Los Angeles. There was knockouts right away,
Oh yeah, there was like a good string of like
Yeah.
back, like just knockouts.
and we had a women match that was 4 rounds, and it went all 4 rounds. And these
Mhm.
women were squabbing, like going back and forth, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was.
I'll be there next time, guys. Don't worry.
But then,
Do you want to talk about the fight of the night?
but
Chris?
then we were
Oh.
treated to something special, like. We were treated basically into a Gotti versus War
Yeah.
type of fight, like back and forth,
Back
back
and
and
Still
forth.
yet to watch this fight, but I will watch it.
Back and
like
forth.
I said, we will link you guys up down below.
You know
Yeah.
what I did after the fight? In fact, I did two things. In the second round, I didn't commentate it at all.
Silence.
And after the bell rang, I told the people who were following the fight, like, you know what? Like, my job is here to commentate the fights, and I get that, but sometimes you just gotta like be quiet and just appreciate these two boxers and just hear the sound effects, because it's basically war. I was so stunned by what I was seeing, but just like, boxing is not beautiful. It's brutal, but at the end of the day, they made it beautiful in that war. And the second thing, as soon as that fight was done, I was just telling Chris, like, you know, I get it that there has to be a winner or a loser, but in fights like this, you just got to put the scorecards away.
Yeah,
and you know, both of these fighters
stand up and clap for them.
Not just stand up and clap.
Man.
Yeah,
we stood up and
but
clapped.
yeah, both of these fighters deserve a draw.
Yeah,
deserve a draw. They didn't deserve to lose.
It was that close, but it's like what they left on that stage for us, man. Like,
Yeah,
there was not a lot of defense. It was just like two warriors up there just throwing bombs,
boom,
throwing bombs,
boom.
and just back and forth. Man, they took it like champs.
And it was so funny because right before the bell was gonna ring the first round, it's like, I want to see how this Daniel kid is. He looks like he has a baby face. Like he looks young.
And we saw him backstage, right?
Yeah.
We were like, oh, look at that guy. Like, he's young,
baby face, like
but he looks like
young,
a killer.
Yeah, and then after the fight ended, and I predicted it was going to be a draw, ended up becoming a draw. I told Chris, like, hey, dude, I'm gonna step away. I'm gonna get out of this. I want to go back and hug these guys, and you sound like I appreciate what you gave. And I had my dress shirt, right, but I put in my cardigan because these guys are sweaty, hella sweaty, you know. Yeah. So I go backstage, and I'm waiting for Daniel. And next to me is the boxing commissioner who scans your eyes if you're medically cleared to go to the locker room, and fine, don't take you to the hospital. We're all waiting, and Daniel, right? And Daniel comes, and he's all being like getting photographed, and like, hey, that's a hell of a war, this and that. And right when he passes by, I just told him, hey, man, I did the commentating. That was such a great fight. Like, I can't believe it. And I just, like, I hugged him, and I appreciate what type of fight you had. And he's like, and then he just like tells me, like, man, I have this huge headache from one of the hits, and that's what happens. You know, you don't know what type of damage you take when you're at an early stage in boxing, you know.
So was this right after the fight, or was this after the event?
Right after the fight. Yeah, as soon as I was done commenting that fight, I went back to the locker just to appreciate. Yeah, I went.
I gotta try that.
I did that, and I was just talking to Daniel, and he left, and then we were all waiting for Lopez, the other fighter, and I had to wait for him, and I told him, like, the same thing. I hugged him, and I appreciated the fight that he gave, and you don't see that, like, I don't know how many times I'm going to be able to have the opportunity to, like, commentate boxing fights, but, like, that in itself.
And that's the thing, Chris. Like, we have fights like these, like, all over, like, you know, the country, but they don't get that spotlight because they're not on TV. They're not, you know, big name fighters yet. They're barely, but, man, what these guys have to go through.
Yeah.
That's why we
in the fourth round, I was like, somebody fall down already. Like, that's you know how bad it was.
I'm going to put clips of this on our Instagram page, Head Against the Ropes. All right, so you guys can see it too.
Yeah, I mean, these two boxers need to give, like, props for what they did that Saturday.
Yeah. This was could have been like a fight of the month, like, you know, fight of the year even, you know.
Yeah.
If it was on, like, and
I'm not exaggerating. Like, I've seen fights. We've
seen fights, yeah.
We've seen fights, but, like, this was gorgeous. No need to watch the ringside women behind this. This was just, like, flat out.
It was just
two
brutal.
monsters going at it. And no defense, and it's just box.
Like, if you see that fight, you're like, man, I got, like, 12 rounds, 10 rounds, like, worth of action in 4 rounds.
Yeah.
That's
and
crazy.
The next show is when? November 3rd?
November 3rd.
We'll put links to that, too. Right?
Yep.
That's a great way to end the show, guys.
Yep.
So thank you guys for tuning in. This has been episode 3 of Against the Ropes. It's been great talking boxing. With you, it's Christian Mosqueda, Gio Garcia, and Chris Rodriguez. Join us next week for episode 4.
Next time.